The airplane cabin was bustling, passengers shuffling, carry-ons clattering, and announcements echoing overhead. But in the very last row, as the final boarding call echoed through the terminal, a weary man stepped onto the plane, clutching a small backpack in one hand and a sleepy child in the other. His shoulders slumped from exhaustion, his clothes worn from months of struggle, and his eyes carried the weight of a life that had not been easy. He was the single dad who had been working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet, and now, fate had handed him the final seat. As he approached it, the entire plane seemed to hold its breath for a fleeting moment, and that's when she saw him. The woman sitting across the aisle froze. Ava Stone, billionaire entrepreneur, philanthropist, and the kind of woman who controlled boardrooms and empires with a single glance, had never felt her heart skip like this before. There was something about the man, a raw honesty, a quiet resilience, that tugged at the corners of her soul. She couldn't move, couldn't speak, as he smiled politely at the flight attendant, settled his child on his lap, and buckled in. And just like that, a connection invisible yet undeniable began to thread between 2 worlds that seemed impossibly far apart. Before the story unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and moments that can change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heart Touch Story. Ethan, the single dad, had been living a life most would overlook. After his wife passed suddenly 2 years ago, he had become both mother and father to his 5-year-old daughter, Mia. Every day was a balancing act, early mornings delivering newspapers, late nights working in a small repair shop, and hours in between spent coaxing smiles from a little girl who missed her mother. He had little time for himself, and even less hope for anything beyond survival. Mia, with her big brown eyes and untamed curls, was his world. Watching her fall asleep on his shoulder during that flight, her tiny hand clutching his worn jacket, Ethan felt a mix of pride and sorrow. He had done everything to keep her safe, to shield her from a reality he could not change. Yet, despite the hardships, he never let his struggles show, always wearing a quiet courage as if it were armor. Meanwhile, Ava Stone couldn't stop thinking about him. She was used to control, to knowing the outcomes before anyone else did. But there was no formula for this. She had seen wealth, power, and influence, but she had never seen someone carry heartbreak with such grace. She watched Ethan navigate the tiny aisle, balancing a child and a backpack, offering a polite nod to the flight attendants, and in that simple, unassuming moment, she felt a stirring she couldn't name. As the plane took off, turbulence shook the cabin, rattling overhead compartments and the nerves of the anxious passengers. Ethan held Mia close, whispering little stories to calm her fears, and Ava found herself leaning slightly, just to see them. The child's laughter, soft and innocent, seemed to cut through her own hardened walls, and she wondered, for the first time in years, if there was more to life than numbers, contracts, and quarterly reports. Hours passed, and the world outside the window melted into clouds and sunlight. Ethan's journey was a mosaic of small victories, Mia's giggles after he recounted a clumsy story about their morning routine, the quiet pride he felt when she recited a nursery rhyme perfectly, and the little acts of care that reminded him that even in hardship, love persisted. Ava watched, captivated, feeling a strange mix of admiration and longing. The man she had noticed in a fleeting glance was now a living testament to perseverance, sacrifice, and the beauty of human spirit. Landing approached, and with it, the tension that neither had fully acknowledged. Ethan's phone buzzed, a reminder of unpaid bills and mounting pressures. He glanced at it briefly, sighing, but then looked down at Mia's peaceful face and felt a spark of hope. Maybe tomorrow wouldn't be easier, maybe the world would still be challenging, but moments like this, quiet, tender, unexpected, made life worth navigating. Ava realized she couldn't remain a silent observer. She had been insulated by wealth, surrounded by yes-men and yes-women, and yet here was a man whose every act of love and responsibility challenged her perception of what mattered. She leaned forward slightly, her curiosity stronger than caution, wanting to know him beyond a glance, beyond a fleeting flight. The question lingered in the back of her mind, could someone like him, someone so real, ever intersect with someone like her? The plane landed smoothly, passengers gathering their belongings, and Ethan hoisted Mia onto his hip with practiced ease. As he walked toward the exit, Ava's heart pounded. She caught up just in time to ask a simple, hesitant question, one that carried the weight of possibility. For a moment, the world narrowed to just the two of them, the noise of the busy terminal fading, and the story paused on a fragile precipice of change. Ethan looked at her, tired but unbroken, and for the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to feel the tremor of curiosity and wonder. Who was this woman, and why did her presence make him question everything he had resigned himself to accept? Ava's eyes glimmered, a rare vulnerability breaking through her polished exterior. And in that instant, a silent understanding passed between them. Life had more chapters to offer, and sometimes, the most profound connections were the ones you never expected. Before the story ends, if this story has touched your heart, if you felt the quiet courage, the love, and the spark of human connection, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heart Touch Story. And don't forget, take a moment to write in the comments what you would do if you met someone like Ethan or Ava. Your thoughts matter and inspire others. As the crowd dispersed, Ava lingered for a moment longer, watching Ethan walk through the sliding doors of the airport with Mia perched on his hip. The journey ahead was uncertain, full of challenges and unknowns, but for the first time, she believed that perhaps, with kindness, courage, and a touch of fate, even two worlds that seemed miles apart could find their way together. Life had handed Ethan the final seat on a plane, but it had also handed both of them a second chance, a moment that neither had anticipated, yet one that could forever change the course of their lives. And in that quiet, unexpected connection, the world felt just a little brighter, just a little fuller, and full of hope for the chapters yet to come.